during the Alabama-Auburn basketball game. The SGA president from Auburn ended up singing Alabama's fight song, as tradition goes. Kevin Scarbinsky, Natalie, Pierre. We figured, since, football, Saban was out here, we might as well talk about Nick Marshall.
Why not?
Why not?
It's been a big week for him.
For sure, for sure. He is playing cornerback now after playing quarterback the last 2 years for that, Auburn offense. Played in the national championship 2 years ago and is entering the draft. Some people have said he could go, I think Mel Kiper said he sees him potentially as a third-round pick. He's athletic, he's got the size, I understand it technically. Do you think it'll work? Do you think he'll have success?
I give him a lot of credit. I think it's an incredibly mature career decision because, up until this week in Mobile, he had insisted that he was going to make a run at the NFL as a quarterback. Gus Malzahn had fully supported that and said he believed he had an opportunity to play in the NFL at that position. So they were obviously in the minority in that thought process because a lot of people were telling him, look, if you want to play at the next level, you are a good enough athlete to switch back to defensive back. And remember, he went to Georgia as a defensive back and played there as a freshman. And so he's got the athletic ability. If he has the desire and he has the work ethic, and we believe he does, when you look at what he's accomplished as a quarterback, you think he can do that flipping back. It's going to be a tough transition, obviously, but I think he showed some flashes down in Mobile. I was down there for a couple days at Senior Bowl practices watching him work, and he is an incredible athlete. And again, I think he has the work ethic to make this thing work.
And it was thought that at cornerback, when he was playing at Georgia, that he had the potential to be an All-American cornerback and one of the best that played the position in the college game. So he's not somebody that, barely played cornerback or didn't play very well and then ended up transferring to Auburn and playing quarterback. So I think it's going to be interesting to see, he made the decision now. And I think that if you're going to make the decision, it's good to make the decision now and not get to somebody's camp and them say, you're not a quarterback. You're not. And so I think
better sooner than later.
Exactly.
On that decision.
People think of like Tim Tebow as a guy that had a great college career, didn't make a move, and then is now on SEC Network.
I think that's a great example because he was unwilling to switch to another position. When so many people screamed out, "You're not a quarterback at this level. You're not a quarterback at this level." He was a great college quarterback. But he wasn't a quarterback at the NFL level, and that proved to be true. As you said, now he's a TV analyst, and nothing against that. But who knows if he had been willing to switch to H-back or tight end, as a lot of people suggested, maybe he'd be playing in the NFL right now. He seems like the perfect H-back for Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. They love to get those former quarterbacks and put him in that position. So, but again, I want to not only give Nick Marshall a lot of credit for making this decision, but just remember what an incredible 2 years he had as the Auburn quarterback. As you said, led him to the SEC Championship in 2013, took him into the lead in the national championship game with barely a minute left. It wasn't Nick Marshall's fault they didn't close the deal. The defense couldn't stop that last Florida State drive. And even this year, had him at number 3 in the playoff rankings and set records in the Iron Bowl, set Auburn records that were held for years, passing records in that game. So, I think his 2 years at Auburn will be remembered very fondly.
Yeah, and I don't think it's at all an indictment on his college career that he's not a quarterback at the next level, because when you think about, again, Tim Tebow is one of the best players in the history of college football, and he wasn't an NFL quarterback. I think it really just speaks to the differences in the college game as compared to the NFL, where these spread offenses you see in the college game, you don't need a guy that can drop back and throw balls in tight windows and do things that you have to be able to do in the NFL.
You know what it tells you? It tells you that Gus Malzahn and Rhett Lashley know how to coach up quarterbacks. They got everything out of Nick Marshall that you could expect to get out of him. And now you'll see, as we go into transition into next year, you'll see a very different Auburn offense. Well, maybe not, it won't be 180 degrees different, but it will be different with Jeremy Johnson at quarterback. He is more of a drop back guy. He is a guy who can fit the ball into tight spots and hit receivers in stride, where Nick Marshall wasn't always as accurate doing those kind of things. So he may not run the read option as well. He may not be quite as quick, but he can run the ball. So it's going to be fascinating to see how the Auburn offense adjusts with Jeremy Johnson under center. or behind center, because he's probably going to be in the shotgun most of the time anyway.
Exactly. No, I completely agree, and I think it'll be fascinating to watch Nick Marshall as he goes through the combine. And obviously the draft begins on April 30th, so we will see how Nick Marshall's transition goes from quarterback at Auburn to hopeful cornerback in the NFL.